we're all good. So the very first thing, which hopefully this works, I'm going to show one demo but not explain it until the very end. So hopefully it actually works. I'm going to open up my phone here. Hopefully it's connected nicely to a 3G. I'm opening up speech recognition. Begin magic. That was close. It said big in magic. That's almost there. I'll just assist it and tell it what I actually meant. OK, cool. So that's just turned something magical on, which, if you can see what it is, it's actually a bubble machine. So I don't know about you guys, but I never thought when I started learning JavaScript that I could turn a bubble machine on using it. So now I'm just going to bother you guys by having this bubble machine going off. It takes a bit of time. I'm also putting it away from electronics yet again, because that's dangerous. So that's the first bit of OK, this is where we're going. I've just used voice recognition on my phone to turn on a bubble machine, and that was all using JavaScript and a whole heap of JavaScript APIs. It's going to be interesting to see what this looks like when the video comes back. So, to start off with, my name is Patrick Catanzariti. I think I've said to start off with a whole bunch of times, but it's a really slow start. My Twitter is thatpatrickguy. That's really important. For anybody who's on Twitter, get out your phones and be ready on Twitter, because you can actually be part of the live demo and see some of your stuff working. Or you can kind of be part of it and be like, oh, wow, I did something. Without having to get up and speak like Morgan Freeman. Thank you all for your kind participation. So let's get it to actually listen to my clicks. OK, 18 years ago, May 1995. Does anybody know what happened then? In particular, you can just yell out. Nobody? It was the month of Die Hard with a Vengeance. It was actually #1 at the box office. Mr. Bruce Willis was pretty popular back then. 100th centenary thing of Superman comics, only important to comic nerds like me. And This Is How We Do It was really big on the charts by Montel Jordan. So that's really important, but it was actually this browser here, Netscape, which was really common at the time. They developed something called Mocha for it, which was really exciting at the time. It was renamed to LiveScript. Now it's JavaScript with the trademark blessings of Sun Microsystems. And the web used to look something like this. This is a bit of an exaggeration. But I remember when I was just starting out, JavaScript was super exciting because you could click things and make dialog boxes, and you could type in your name or whatever you wanted, and it would update. And that blew my mind, and it also kind of started showing the slight possibilities of where we'd go. But it advanced, which was good. We started to have Ajax, which got everybody a bit excited, made everybody feel like they had a bit of power. You know, you could actually do a whole heap more as a web developer than you could before. Then jQuery came around, which is becoming a bit of a dirty word, but at the time, you all must admit you were all pretty damn excited. You got all giddy like a schoolgirl, and you wanted to really start messing around with JavaScript, because before you had no idea what they were on about. Followed nicely by Node.js. We started using it on the server side a lot more frequently. All my slides are actually running off Node at the moment for important reasons, like connecting to the internet to do voice recognition. And we were all pretty ecstatic by that point. JavaScript was the new hot thing. We were all pretty over the moon. Inevitably, JavaScript has escaped the web. I don't know how well you can see it, but it reminded me a lot of The Simpsons in the Treehouse of Horror episode where Homer comes out and he joins the 3D world. Looks really confused. JavaScript's kind of escaped that as well. It's now off into the real world, and we can affect it and use it for devices everywhere. The Internet of Things, which has come up quite a bit. The first thing, and one of the main things that I'm talking about, is the Ninja block, which I won't lift up again in case I anger it and it stops working. But it lets you invoke and respond to devices in the real world using JavaScript. So it has a whole heap of stuff. If you don't want to use JavaScript, you can use something else. But for the time being, I'm talking about JavaScript and all the cool stuff you can use with JavaScript. It supports the 433 megahertz band and USB devices. So the 433 megahertz band was the radio waves that I was talking about. A whole heap of devices can turn on and off depending on this radio wave. So what I've got there is remote control power outlets. So they just turn on and off Anything that you can turn on and off and it'll work straight away as soon as power hits it, you can now remotely control using JavaScript. You can also order them online already. So if anybody's like, oh, this is really cool, I want to do it, well, just go on to ninjablocks.com, and you can order some, and they come pretty quickly. Another thing I want to talk about was Tessel. Tessel isn't available yet, but it's another little exciting thing. It's a microprocessor that runs JavaScript. And what you can do is you can attach this to any little device that you've created, and instantly you give it Wi-Fi access, and it can do the same stuff. It can invoke and respond to events via JavaScript, so you can attach to anything else. You could probably attach to a Ninja block and get it to communicate with that. But it also means if you've got an innovative idea and you want to start connecting it up to stuff, you can use a Tessel and build it into your product, mass produce it, and Tesla are pretty happy to have you building up on their platform. Shipping in 2014. Go to tessel.io if you're interested in that. OK, if you're really, really keen, you can get involved in Arduinos. They've been around for quite a while, but it can be pretty hardcore. Ninja blocks are cool for a lot of the bare basics. So you can do a lot with Ninja blocks out of the box. It comes with a lot of stuff pre-built for you. And it's very simple, whereas Arduinos, it's still pretty simple, but you do it a bit more from scratch. There are a bunch of JavaScript and Node frameworks, so you can do JavaScript and Node stuff with an Arduino. You can make Node bots, which a lot of people love, which I'm hopefully going to be doing later. Arduinos are still in the mail. WhereScript is another cool thing, where you get to have JavaScript apps running on Google Glass, which is exciting because it's also their attempt to have an open ecosystem for Google Glass apps. So rather than going through the Android store, you can build a little JavaScript app which will run on Google Glass and share it with all of your friends without having to wait for the app to be approved and all of that stuff. Mostly exciting for JavaScript developers, and it's available already if you've got Glass at wherescript.com. I don't have a pair either. OK, one of the things I'm really excited about, which I've also ordered but appeared at my house today while I wasn't here because I was at the conference, is the Leap Motion, which detects all of your hand movements. You can make gestures at the screen, touch things, grab things, and it affects it all. And there's a JavaScript API available for that. That's super exciting, and it's at leapmotion.com, available to order online. But only a month ago, it also was available at Dicksmith. So you don't have to wait online. Just go to Dicksmith, and you can pick one up. OK, so you combine this with APIs, and you get a lot of really exciting stuff. So Onyx lets you respond to events on your Android device via JavaScript. So if you get texts, you want to launch apps, change the volume on your phone, respond to battery life, GPS location. So you can do fun stuff like, if I get home and I hit my Wi-Fi network, turn on all my lights if you connect it up to a Ninja block. You can kind of, I'd say it's still limited a little bit, but they are adding more stuff to the API as time goes on. That's available now at onyx.ms. That MS is actually because it's by Microsoft. So if you really don't like Microsoft, they might win you over again by this really cool little thing that they built. This one, not many people know about because it's actually not finished yet, but I stumbled upon it and started using it. It's what I used for the voice recognition that I just did. It's called X&ME, or XME. I'm not totally sure yet because it is in such early development. But it's a bit of a hybrid idea between Onyx and what Onyx can do, responding to things on your phone, and Google Now. So it has a lot of cards that kind of pop up that look a lot like the Google Now cards. And its whole idea is the same thing of responding to stuff via JavaScript API and setting up almost like a personal assistant that you can use that would remind you of things when you're in an area, open up a web page, do whatever you wanted. The reason I used it was because it's got voice recognition, so you can kind of use the voice recognition API straight from Android through this, which was nice and simple to use. It's available now to try out if you manage to get it to work, but there are a bit of stumbling blocks because it's not completely ready yet. But when it is, it's going to be pretty damn cool. OK, demo time. Well, more demos, at least. Hopefully it doesn't go quite like that, and I don't end up wishing I didn't choose some of these. So to start off with, I'm going to assume that people generally have an idea of how to set up a Node server and all of that stuff. If you don't worry. I didn't before, and I kind of have set it all up and learned it, and it's pretty simple. Basically, you require a bunch of the important stuff, so HTTP, the Express framework I've used because it makes things a lot easier in terms of doing get and post requests. And set it all up nice and simply. You include a NinjaBlocks node library, which means it's already pretty simple. Most things come with it. you have a user access ID, actually, which you can't really see there. User access token, which means that it works for your Ninja block. Oh no, what did it just do? Let's just make you bigger again. OK. Oh no, not yet. Where did we go? OK. So you set up a route on your Node server. In this case, I've got red on, which means that whenever you access that URL, we want something to happen on our Node server. You find the relevant devices using the Ninja block API. So here we're going, OK, any 433 megahertz radio signal device, let's add it to the sirens variable there. I'm scared to move and scroll across because Mac will go back again on me. But it searches for this short name, which you set up in Ninja blocks. So you detect radio waves, and you kind of go, OK, that device that just went off, give it this name. So we're pretty much going, any radio wave device with that short name of red on, put it under the sirens variable. Then we iterate through them. I'm using underscore because it makes it a lot easier to quickly do these little demos. And you pretty much just find it, but you find each siren, you can find its ID, and then you can actuate it, which means that you turn it on, or you make it do whatever it is that that radio wave wants to do. And then I'm using jQuery because it makes it a lot easier. If you want to not use jQuery for that sort of thing, it's pretty simple. But you pretty much have an on-click event, send an AJAX request to that URL, and we'll get something to happen. So we've got the client side working with JavaScript and the backend working with JavaScript. You can push it further, which I did, and I've got flashing sirens. So what I've done with that is I've turned it on, got a timeout, and then turned it off again so that it didn't drive my family insane. That doesn't always work. So sometimes when the radio waves don't work, you end up with a blue siren going off in your kitchen, and your family really confused as to why it's going off. The result is something like this. So if this works, when I click red on, the red siren should go off, but it's not going to. When I click blue on, then the blue siren should go off. That's not going to either. At least the bubble machine worked. That was good. Oh, there we go. OK, so it worked that time, which proves to you it's very intermittent. All I did was press buttons a few more times, and it came on. But it also didn't turn it off, which is cool. There could be a lot of interference between this thing here. Let's just point it more over that way. OK. I'm scared I'm going to break it. OK. So that may make the next demo not work so well. But I combined it with an API, so Twitter Streams API. We've gone, OK, let's use the Twitter Streaming API. If anytime Twitter streams come in, let's do something. It's looking at the screen name that Patrick guy. So quickly tweet me something with the word blue or red at that Patrick guy. It can be an entire sentence. You can have red in whatever case you want. It's all good. But just tweet me stuff, and we'll see whether these just start going off randomly while I continue talking. Combine the idea with Onyx. And so anybody who SMSs me at the moment will also have these go off. There you go. Somebody tweeted blue. Somebody tweeted red. It actually seems to be working. That's a relief. OK. Slide switching fun. Now, this is one of my favorite things that I worked out, which doesn't use Ninja blocks. And I'm not going to be able to explain it in perfect detail. I'm going to have this up on a blog article at some point, so I'll be explaining exactly how to do everything I'm doing. If this works, when I move my phone like this, it's switching my slides. I would have used this for the actual event, but sometimes it thinks I nudged the phone left when I nudged it right if I do the wrong little gesture, and I wasn't going to spend hours practicing how to make sure I only nudged it left or right. But this is using Socket.io, which you can download and look into. And all that's doing is sending a request from Onyx, which says anytime you nudge this phone left or right, send it off to a post request off to the server, and the server goes over to our client, which is this little browser here, and switches it left and right. So, oh, good, it was going through. I really shouldn't be doing this on the slide when it's going further ahead than I am. So that bubble thing that I did there, that's kind of how I did it. I have a thing which listens in the X and ME API, and then goes, OK, if you've got the word begin in this speech recognition, or if you've got stop, if I said stop magic, then it will go through and stop or start this wonderful bubble machine. For everybody who just joined, I turn on a bubble machine using JavaScript. It's just what developers do. So if you're a designer, totally normal. Thanks for listening. Come say hi afterwards. If you're interested in any of this stuff, I'm happy to explain it or answer really confusing questions. If I can't answer your question, I'm happy to look into it as well. No, I don't know the people who work at NinjaBlocks. I spoke to one of them once. I didn't actually tell them I was doing this presentation, so maybe they'll be pleasantly surprised when you all start buying NinjaBlocks and will give me a cut. Speak to me in real life or virtually. You've got my Twitter up there. That's a really short URL to get to my website, because nobody remembers how to spell Catanzariti. So patcat.me, or tweet me at thatpatrickguy. Please stop tweeting the things on and off now. I'm going to be disconnecting them. So I'm also taking the server down, but another really big warning I want to put is my examples are really unsecure. So if you're going to do this, remember Troy's advice. Secure your servers and stuff, because right now if anybody posts a request to my get things, they can start turning my stuff on and off. So I'm going to be shutting the server down really soon. Thanks, guys.